Hey there, YouTubers. So this is a pond I dug around May this year, and it's now October, and the water level has been very low all summer. We've had an incredibly dry summer. In fact, the borehole we have here, which is about 36 meters deep, even that was struggling and sort of running not dry, but the supply was very much reduced because it's been so dry. So I've been patient and waited for a bit more rain, and gradually, now we've had some rain, the water level's been coming back up. I've been putting water in from the borehole, which we use for our drinking water, but not too much from that supply because I don't want to interrupt the supply from the house. So probably a couple of 100 litres a day from the main borehole, and then we've got an old well up behind this bush here, which was completely dry over the summer, but now it's got some water in it. I've got a submersible pump in there, and I don't really know how much water comes out of that one, but obviously enough because the level's going up, which is great to see. Now, to seal this pond, I've used Bentonite, which is a bit unusual, and certainly there's not many videos on YouTube about using Bentonite for sealing a pond. I didn't want to use a plastic liner because I just a bit worried about the amount of plastic which is getting into our lives via food and what have you, and being this is not really a kind of important thing to do, I didn't really think buying a huge sheet of plastic and burying it in the garden was particularly worthwhile thing to do. So anyway, so when I first built the pond, or dug it rather, with the excavator, it's probably about 1.5 meters deep already in the middle there, and in the bottom we had some kind of like slates, which obviously would let water flow through them because of their cracks. They're pervious, that's the name for it. And so I got a whole bunch of this bentonite, these bentonite granules, which we're going to have a look at in a minute, and I spread that all around over the bottom, and then I started putting some water in. Now, some weird stuff's happened, so the water level has gone up and down quite a bit, and that's not only been because of the rain, it's because obviously I've had leaks as well, and I'm not quite sure what's caused those leaks. When it got up to about this, well, hasn't quite got up to this deep before, but when it got deep enough to swim in last time, we jumped in and had a first swim, which was a bit squidgy, but it was after that, I think we must have disturbed the lining and a lot of the water ran out, so that didn't go very well. But I think gradually what will happen over time, thinking about it, is that the water will flow into the cracks, and it will carry the bentonite with it, and hopefully over time it will gum them up. I don't know if you've ever seen a leaky tap, or a joint on a leaky tap. Sometimes if it's just got a little drip coming out of it, it will seal itself up over time because of the particulates that are in the water. So maybe, well, obviously something similar will go on here, and it must have done because the water level's coming up. So obviously you've got more water going in, but not a crazy amount, and it keeps rising. So that means that we've got a seal now where we didn't before, and I haven't really done anything. I haven't got in there and spread anything about. It's just kind of sealed by itself, I guess. So as I said, when I first dug it, I got a whole bunch of these bags, probably about, I think I bought about 20 bags altogether. So I got about half of them, and I spread them around the sides and across the bottom, so you couldn't really see any of the soil or rock poking out. And then I let it do its thing. but that was back in May, and it's now October. We've had rain, there's plants been growing around the edges and that sort of stuff. So I'm just putting some extra on around the edge. And what I'm doing, let's walk down and have a look at the stuff. Hey mate, how you doing, all right? So these posts here are just dug straight through into the ground with a pair of scissor shovels, and then I just slotted those ash tree chunks in there. I've heard some types of wood are better if you're going to get them wet, apparently. I think it's alder, is that meant to be quite good or something? Anyway, but you could choose different wood for that. It might work, might last a bit longer, but I'm just using up what I've got lying around. So anyway, these are the granules. They're from a company called Stuart Wells, which I've used for years for my main job, which is geology stuff. And they do all sorts of like pipe and stuff like that for making boreholes with. And this is the stuff that you would normally put around the top of the borehole to stop water running in from the surface and getting into the borehole. It's bentonite. They're bentonite granules. So as you can see, I've been sprinkling them along here. You can see it's quite a steep slope on the side, isn't it? But these seem to sit on the side okay. Hopefully they won't creep down over time once they get wet. But really what I've just been doing is just covering the sides. I just get a handful like this, like that, and then you just throw it down there. So it's not very good because normally I use both hands, but and gradually there you go. So you just work your way around like that. And I'm not doing right up to the top because, you know, depending on what might happen, that might be another couple of months, but I'm just keeping about a foot and a half, 45 centimeters ahead of the water level. And then as the water comes up, you can see the bit I did the other day down there, it soaks up, the granules soak up and swell, because bentonite is a trade name for a particular type of clay called Montmorillonite, which is very good at holding water in its chemical lattice. So as the water comes up, the Montmorillonite, which is contained within this product, will swell up, and so all these little granules will smoosh into one another, and the result is apparently a very low permeability coating without any plastic. So hopefully in time this will be full to the top, and in the summer we'll be able to throw ourselves off here into this deep bit, and that will be nice. I suppose some problems might be cleaning it. If you've got a plastic liner, then you could put a pump in or something, and you would know when you've got all the stuff out because there'd be a plastic liner there. But I can't bring myself to buy a huge sheet of plastic, really. Cost-wise, it was about a third of the price. So I think a membrane for this size, and that's only one part of it, remember, really. When you use a membrane to use a pond like this, if you look at all the videos that are done by Pagan Butler, where he uses a plastic liner, it's not just the plastic liner. You need a polypropylene fleece which goes underneath the liner to protect it, and that is a terrible thing to introduce into the environment because, you know, it's entirely comprised of plastic fibers, which will almost certainly immediately get muddled up with the soil, and you've basically just introduced irreversibly a load of microfiber contamination into your, you know, into where you live. Then you then put the plastic on, another plastic sheet on top of that, and then using his method, where you have your regeneration zones around the outside, or whatever you call them, to clean it, you then put another layer of fleece on top of those, which again, you know, by the time you've got all the plant roots growing into it and everything like that, that is a unrecyclable, landfillable piece of plastic which will just be there forever, whether it's in your pond or in the landfill somewhere. And I just couldn't warrant doing that, really. So there you go, there's my sort of eco ramble, which is based in fact, and hopefully this water will continue to rise and we'll be able to swim in it next summer. Lovely jubbly. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Happy tinkering. Oh, by the way, this was my attempt. I'm going to this bit here behind the little planks, these, let's get around here a bit. That's better, isn't it? So I'm going to put some kind of mesh on here, something not chicken wire but something a bit better. And then in this area I'm going to have a little reed bed, a token reed bed. I think probably what I'll have to do here is line this bit with concrete, and I ought to do that soon, really, didn't I? Otherwise it's going to be full of water, because I might try and find some concrete without chromium in it. I wonder if you can get that. So yeah, this area here I'll line with concrete, and that will mean hopefully that the roots from the reeds take their nutrients from the water rather than tap into the soil and get their nutrients from there. Because I don't really, because that's the whole point of having the reeds, is that they take the nutrients out of the water, and then when you harvest the reeds at the end of each season or throughout the season and put them in your compost heap over yonder, then those nutrients are taken out of the system, and that's what keeps the water clear. You can already see this is going a bit green, so that could be because that water out that borehole might have have some agricultural runoff in it because of this field up above us, which would have a nutrient load within it. So yeah, lots of things to think about, but it's been quite a demoralising project to start off with, because we had such a dry summer, and I know all the farmers have had a terrible time with that, but so no big deal for me with my pond. But yeah, as it started to fill up, it's become a bit more interesting, really. There's nothing worse than doing something and it not working, but I think gradually and eventually this is. And I have a £20 bet with my son that it will be full by Christmas, and I was kind of thinking I would almost certainly lose. That's why he made the bet. He's quite a sharp cookie. But now, boots on the other foot, isn't it? Anyway, right, good luck with all your stuff. See you next time. Cheerio, bye.